seen and what is happening in the industry is the fact that some of these new mega trends, so to say, things like cloud, things like big data, which are actually acronyms or words that are used repeatedly. There's also mobility, and then there is there are some of the others like security, which are actually impacting the way IT is going to be perceived, used, and delivered. The reasons are many, because big data, for example, brings the context of OLTP and OLAP, which is online analytical processing together. That means that there needs to be an architectural change in the backend. So that's one way of changing, and that's one part of the new style of IT. The second thing is cloud. By nature is evolving, it's emerging all the time, and it relies heavily on using shared resources. So which means that the systems and the procedures that you have need to have a method to allocate and reallocate resources as the demands increase, because the application or the service itself is a revenue one. So in this case, so you need to have an automation element which is able to dynamically allocate and reallocate resources. Likewise, mobility. So it's a reality that mobility is all around. I think most of you these days have one single device in which you do the photographs, you do the you do your recording, you do all of that in one thing. So like that being a machine by itself is increasing the quantum of data that's being generated. So for example, the machine data that it generates, outside the fact that there's also business data that is on the grow, and more people are wanting to have varying kinds of insights about customers to do real-time marketing and stuff like that. So that is putting a pressure on the traditional IT to re-evolve and reimagine itself to deliver the right speed and agility and all of that, so that the linearity, so to say, is broken. And there's a far higher linearity that comes in or sets in. So that is the area or element that HP is focused on when it comes to creating the compute or reimagining the compute and reimagining the servers. So that is what the new style of IT is all about. And all the products that all the philosophies that we have combined three principles. The area of element of how we are able to make it more cloud ready, how we are able to bring in more convergence. And if you're talking about convergence, then it has to be both from the context of the infrastructure, the management, and the automation, and of course the application specific part which many of us ask questions about. Yeah. So those three principles is what we're combining, so that you're almost at a point where you have dynamic allocation, reallocation of resources of a vast pool, and those resources could be just plain compute resources, could be storage resources, it could be network resources. So these actually combine. This is a sort of continuum, and it's the first or second or third milestone as you see it from where we started. So this brings together all of those management and automation features in this generation. So there are a lot of extensions that we have in this generation itself that fulfills the need of any customer to be cloud ready, fulfills the need of anybody to have convergence, fulfills the need of anybody to be more application specific. The transition per se is extremely easy. You continue to add on in the existing enclosures, generation 9 servers. That's all there is. I mean, from a transition perspective, there's not much in terms of physical activity. There's no technical migration involved. So it depends on the kind of workload the customer has, because we're moving toward a workload conceptualized environment. So it would depend on the workload and the kind of configuration that specific workload would demand. But you have a wide range and array as we've been forever for the last 25 years. So not putting any specific numbers to this. BSC, like you said, over a period of time migrated one function or business after the other. Like for example, they started with currencies, then they moved to derivatives, then the equities as we trade today is on them. But it would obviously depend on the context of where tomorrow is going to be. So he talked about 470 million or so orders that I think they're doing today. When they double it, maybe they don't need to really double the capacity of compute, only because of the fact that they're still running at a far lower capacity utilization. So the context of how much is not the issue, because it is continuously reducing the performance is improving, the total cost of ownership is reducing. We need to see it from a TCO perspective. All of them. In fact, all of them. I would
Banking,
imagine
IT.
banking, IT, yes, manufacturing, high performance computing is a very large segment in India. So have I missed anything? Small and medium businesses, they are a big user of HP. The reason is primarily because of the fact that over a period of time, we've kept up to the commitment of keeping the broader portfolio. We've stayed invested. We're continuously enhancing the portfolio. We have the deepest of the portfolio lines, be it just plain management or the automation element. So, and we stayed committed. So people see that, and that is the continuing, positive enhancements that we've been giving from a product line perspective. So that's what is very
Now, my
endearing to
next
customers.
question.
See, with every passing generation, we're able to create a new market for ourselves. So the last time any result was published was, I guess, in the context of Q1 of this year, which is January, February of March in 2014. So we gained about 5 points of share. So that would be, yeah. So that would be putting us way ahead of the rest other two. And most often we are larger than the rest of them put together. We'd continue to create new markets, obviously because of the fact that there would be increasingly a lot of customers who would buy the traditional IT. There would be increasingly the context of people wanting to move towards convergence. So that's a new element in the whole story. There'll be a lot of customers wanting to move to the cloud. And in cloud, we have the first 100 largest customers in India moving either private, public, or hybrid. So we would imagine that it is a growing phenomenon. This trend. I mean, clear numbers.
Any
I mean,
numbers?
very difficult to predict because of the fact that that's the way the industry is. What we have today is something that we've redefined for the next 25 years. I guess if you were to look at this context of convergence, you look at the context of workload specificity, you look at the context of application specificity, I don't think we have any near competitor who has an equivalent product at all.